Hello everyone, my name is Ray Bowman and this is my week 2 presentation for MPA 594, our comprehensive exam seminar. This week we're taking a look at some key public administration theories and seeing whether they still hold true today or whether they might need some updating. So let's first start with Max Weber. And we all know Max Weber through his theory on bureaucracy. He believed bureaucracy was the most rational and fair way to organize large institutions, and he outlined a few key characteristics that essentially define it. So first, hierarchy, which is like a clear chain of command. So everyone knows who's responsible for what. The second, of course, is structure. There are defined roles that keep the organization stable and consistent. Third, there's division of labor. So there's specialized jobs so that tasks get done efficiently. Fourth, there's formal rules like written policies and SOPs. And finally, expertise, essentially hiring and promoting people based on skill and merit instead of like favoritism. So all of those traits still hold true today, especially in local government, where bureaucracy ensures transparency and accountability. So a practical real-life example of this would be in my city's procurement and accounting processes. Every transaction goes through the same review and documentation steps to protect public funds. So we have numerous policies that essentially lay out how we need to do our job in accounting and finance. And that structure works. It prevents biases and keeps things pretty much auditable. So the concept holds true today, but of course we have a caveat. So here's the caveat. When systems become too routine, people can stop essentially questioning them. In accounting, we have this term. It's called SALY, which essentially stands for same as last year. SALY happens when we repeat something just because that's how it's always been done, essentially reusing budget lines or copying last year's entries or transactions without asking if it still makes sense. And that's what Robert Merton called trained incapacity. So when people become so good at following the rules that they lose flexibility and awareness. I included a quote here. This wasn't from Robert Merton, but it essentially lays out what his theory proposes. So the price of training is always a certain trained incapacity. The more we know how to do something, the harder it is to learn to do it differently. So yes, a bureaucracy still matters. It gives us structure and fairness, but we have to stay alert so that the system doesn't start running on autopilot. Now let's look at Douglas McGregor. Douglas McGregor, we famously know him for his Theory X and Theory Y. Theory X essentially assumes people dislike work, they avoid responsibility, they have little creativity, they need close supervision or they need to be directed. And most public employees want to contribute, they just need purpose and trust. So that's where Theory Y comes in. Theory Y, on the other hand, assumes that people are self-motivated, they like work, they can take on responsibilities, and they can be creative. They can be self-directed when they feel valued and supported. So a practical example of this I've seen is in a local city task force. It was called the RISE Task Force, which stood for Relentless Internal System Enhancement. This task force was essentially made up of analysts from a bunch of different departments, and their task was to find operational inefficiencies and try to improve them in each department. And that's exactly what they did. Management trusted that task force to find ways to improve efficiencies, and they delivered. They redesigned workflows, they improved communication, and they even helped implement a new employee evaluation system that all of the bargaining units within the city supported and agreed to. And that's Theory Y in action. Essentially, management, they built trust with the employees, they collaborated, and they believed that the employees could be self-directed and to be able to find solutions on their own. So where Weber gave us a framework for hierarchy, structure, rules, and expertise, McGregor reminded us that the heart of every system are people and people who want to do good work. So bureaucracy still holds true, but again with a caveat. Theory X no longer fits today's public sector, but Theory Y does, because it trusts employees to lead improvement from within. And of course, we all know that it's all about balance. So the best of public administration is a blend of both. The structure keeps the government fair, and trust keeps the employees and our public administrators motivated. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I look forward to your presentations. Have a great day.